They know they're the kingmaker. They know that just by putting this on their shelves, that they're going to generate revenue for you. And the contract is going to reflect that. And that's how you get fucked and you go out of business. Because you're selling at such a slim margin that you can't survive. Tell them, look, we're going to be saying yes, but we're going to need another 6, 12 months, whatever that is. But we want you to begin building that relationship. And the whole goal of all of this is to get to the point where you have power and you can negotiate a contract that's fair. Not so that you can be the dick, you just want something that's fair.
So distribution, you can have a product, you can create it. A lot of the businesses I have, I'm able to distribute it through websites that we control and we do the marketing, but there's plenty of other ways to run a business. You're an expert in getting stores to distribute. How do you get in? If somebody here has a snack bar or a drink or something, you can't just go to 7-Eleven and Walmart and go, yo, sell my stuff. Because one of the keys is if you get shelf space at a 7-Eleven or Walmart, it's going to boost your sales. I don't care what your marketing is, just the fact that you're in 1,000 stores. So how do you get the foot in the door for somebody listening who wants to launch any kind of physical product business?
All right, everybody, here we go. Lean forward because I'm going to break it down for you. And this is the gospel.
You guys should be paying me for this.
All right, so step number 1, you've got to make that killer product. Step number 2, get it out to influencers. The reason you want to do that is they're going to begin talking to their marketplace. Your product really has to add value, but if it does, let them do contests and things like get this man here. Instead of just giving away raw cash, you get them giving away your product. So it's going to cost you the cost of the product. Get it out there. Get a bunch of people doing that. Now, the magical thing that happens is people begin walking into the stores where they would expect it to be carried and asking, hey, where are the Quest bars or whatever your product is? Now, those stores at first, they don't think anything of it. Then 2 and 3 people a day are walking into the store. Then they start reaching out to you. Now, first, because of what Ty just said, they know they're the kingmaker. They know that just by putting this on their shelves, that they're going to generate revenue for you. And the contract is going to reflect that. And that's how you get fucked and you go out of business. Because you're selling at such a slim margin that you can't survive. So now, if that happens and you start growing rapidly, you realize, oh God, what we agreed to in terms of the profit margin doesn't work. I can't scale my business and now I'm stuck. That's where most businesses tap out. You live in the age of the internet. So what you're going to do is you're not going to fall prey to that very stupid mistake. And you're going to when they keep coming and asking to have your product, you're going to say no. And I'm going to say you're going to say no for about a year and you're going to have discipline because you could be making more money in the short term, but you're going to say no and you're going to keep building online. You're going to evangelize your customers so that they don't just like you, they absolutely love you. They love everything about you. They love your customer support. They love all the content that you're creating, everything. You're adding value to them at every touch point. Then a year later, we literally at Quest, we hired somebody to say no in a better way. Really? Because we were like, oh shit, we're beginning to damage the relationship with these guys who are like, dude, if you don't come on our shelves, we're never coming back to you. I want to be very clear about that. So we hired somebody just to say no in a nicer way.
How did they do that?
They had a long-standing relationship. So you end up hiring somebody that actually knows those customers. So it becomes the account manager. So for us, our big ones were like GNC, Vitamin Shop. And so you get people that have like 10, 15, 20-year relationship with that store. And you tell them, look, we're going to be saying yes, but we're going to need another 6, 12 months, whatever that is. But we want you to begin building that relationship. And the whole goal of all of this is to get to the point where you have power and you can negotiate a contract that's fair. Not so that you can be the dick. You just want something that's fair. And so because we were able to do that, we were able to scale our business. We didn't have to take in outside equity, even though we grew by 57,000% in our first 3 years alone.
That is good.
It's crazy. And this is in manufacturing, dude. So we were buying like just millions of dollars of equipment. We had hundreds of thousands of square feet, and it all happened in like a 5-year period. It was absolute madness. But we were only able to do that because we said no long enough to negotiate a contract that was fair.
How did you know to say no, though?
Because you run the math. It's like you look at it and go, okay, my margin here is like 12%.
Right.
I'm in manufacturing. Like if I were just manufacturing and I didn't have any marketing or anything like that, then
that'd be fine.
Sure. Yeah. Like a co-man can get by on that, but a brand, no way.
Yeah.
So
he's basically saying, somebody said, damn, he lost me. Let me explain what he's saying. A store, let's say 7-Eleven or GNC, they'll say, we'll buy these bars from you for 75 cents, and then we'll resell them for $2. Just making up a hypothetical. So they're going to make a lot of profit. Let's say this bar cost him 70 cents to make. So They're squeezing you. They're going to give you 5 cents profit per bar. Then they're going to take the bar and go sell it for triple. And they say, we're 7-Eleven. We have spent all this money on our brand. We've built these physical locations and these franchises. So one of the cool things that a man named Casanova, very famous, Giancarlo Casanova, one of the most famous people in history, he said, be the flame, not the moth. Be the candle, not the moth. And that's really kind of the philosophy that Tom's saying, is that what you chase moves away from you. That's what Casanova was saying. What you chase moves away from you. And what you deny and say, it moves closer. It goes, wait a second. And I've found that in business networking, one of the worst things you can do is be at a conference, see somebody you want to talk to, and just buzz up to them and be like, oh my God, I've been wanting to meet you. You have to do it in a way where you are the flame and not just the moth that's actually pursuing. And so you did that, and it worked.
It worked really, really well. And one thing, just to make this more universal for people, going along with what you're saying, is you got to play the long game. So let's take the example of you really want to meet somebody that, let's say you want to meet Ty. And step one is not run up and introduce yourself to Ty. Step one is to, in an ideal scenario, you get somebody else who says, oh, Ty, you have to meet so-and-so, which, by the way, is exactly how I met Ty at Thrive. Somebody else went up to you and said, you need to meet Tom. And someone came up to me and said, you need to meet Ty. And so that's how we then came together. But both of us knowing at that moment where we met that, like, that's the power exchange, right? That other people were brokering that introduction. And so it's like, I get it. We may have been in the same place like a dozen times before that, but the setting wasn't right to meet as equals. And so you just don't meet. Most people, like, they can't bear it. They're convinced they're never going to meet again. So they just like rush up and they don't make a great first impression. I had to learn this the hard way. I was the guy that used to show up for the first date. These are true stories. I really wish they weren't, but I would show up on the first date with like flowers and poems.
Oh dear.
Oh yes.
Poems?
You did poems?
I assure you this is real. And so because of that, there was very, very little getting laid. And so I was just like, this is a bad strategy.
That's
right?
actually interesting. So did the poem ever work on a date?
Not once.
Not
on a first date. You got to be kidding. It's suicide.
Did you do specific poems per date, or was it the same poem you just recycled?
No, my friend.
So you made it
I was doing it from a truly authentic place. Like, I would see somebody, I'd be into them, and I would really want to like show that. And you see in movies that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to roll up with flowers.
Somebody wrote ha 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 poems. That's all they wrote.
That well said, my friend. Well
now
said.
you're married.
Yeah,
so what strategy did you convert to? Did you then start seeing a girl you like at Starbucks, like your future wife, and send a friend
to
over
say
to
you
them
should
and be
meet
like,
Tom?
you see that other guy getting coffee? You must meet him.
No, I ignored the shit out of her. And so
And that worked.
And it worked. So do you want to know what the very first line was that I said to the woman who would become my wife? Brace yourself for this one, Maya.
Okay, I'm
just,
should I
What?
put earmuffs?
I'm ignoring you.
Remember, it worked. No, I said, where do you think you're going? Sit your ass down. And she sat, and then I knew.
Where were you? At Starbucks?
No, so we were.
That would be weird.
She was filming something. We were actually on the back lot of Universal. So we had a relationship. Those weren't the first words I said to her as a person. They were the first words I said to her in any sort of romantic advance.
Zach, what's been your best? Zach is a Tinder and Bumble guy. I've never met somebody off Tinder, but I'm going to, because I want to start getting these good stories that Zach has. Zach, what is your best line that's gotten you married? Oh, no, you're not married. Sorry.
Honestly, for a while there, I would go, hey, do you want to arm wrestle?
Okay.
That was...
Maya
It
Maya
worked.
groaned. I kid you not.
It
You
worked.
know your line's not that good when women go,
I have evidence to prove the contrary. It did
You
work.
mean that
I
a
don't
girl-
do
I'm
it
gonna-
now. This is 10 years ago, like on Match.com or something. This isn't last week.
oh, you would email them.
That's,
Do you
yeah,
want
that's
to
back
arm
in the
wrestle?
day. Yes.
No, but I'm saying all the women that were saying yes, which women are saying yes to do you want to arm
Maya
wrestle?
Downs.
The ones that get it's just a joke and it's a silly opener. It's not a legitimate request. Those are the ones.
We have two Leos here slightly offending each other.
Also, how are your morals? That works pretty well.
How are your
That's
morals
so
is actually
worse.
kind of a funny joke that Zach said. I will tell you, I'm sure I can tell you the best pickup line in the world. If you learn about astrology and you walked up to a woman and you say, if you tell me what day of the year you're born, I'll tell you what career you should choose and everything about your future. Promise you, this is not a joke. People will turn around. Men don't like to talk about astrology, but for some reason, a lot of women do. So that's my tip. I'm not sure about the wrestling or sit down, but
Actually, I bring up, this is crazy. I'm on a crazy streak with guessing the signs on Tinder. Like I'll say, hello, or if it's Bumble, they have to message you first. And I write back immediately saying or guessing what their sign is.
Where'd you get that idea?
Right now, Armand. No, I'm just kidding. But no,
Zach doesn't
I've been
wanna give
killing
me-
it off of guessing.
Trust me, it works.
They get all excited.
Even if you
too.
get it wrong, people like to. I was reading one of the greatest, I think the smartest man of the modern world, and a lot of people disagree with me, but they've never actually read his words, was Sigmund Freud. Sigmund Freud, just trust me, even though some of his theories of Oedipus complex and all these have been discredited, he's the founder of modern psychology. Anytime you found an entire subject in university, you're pretty smart. And he is a genius. Trust me. Read Civilization's Discontents. I've read, most of the philosophers, the great thinkers, and I've never read somebody like him. But one of the things that he says is who we fall in love with. So this is a good marketing tip if you're building a business, because a lot of people love Quest bars. You have people with a love relationship. Not everybody.
Ty's brother Ben.
My brother
has a
loves
relationship with Quest
He's
bars.
definitely
my brother is like a
serious
huge
about
evangelist.
a disciple, an apostle for.
So you can use this in any this principle. What Sigmund Freud said is that in order to get love, he talked about the Bible where Jesus Christ said, "Love your neighbor, love your enemy as yourself." And Sigmund Freud said he didn't think that made sense, but because he said love is something valuable to you. You don't have that much time. You can't love everybody on the planet equally, right? You don't have time to help all 7 billion people. So he said humans have this decision to make, like who will you put your real love in terms of time, energy, effort, and so on. And he said, what do we look for? And it's very interesting. I was just rereading this yesterday. He said the ultimate thing we look for is something that reminds us of ourselves. People fall in love with themselves because Freud is one of the first people to talk about this narcissism. And so I think when you're marketing a bar like Quest Bar, or you're like Zach,
Marketing
Tinder,
yourself.
marketing himself on Tinder, there has to be some deep psychological, hey, that vibes with what I already believe. So marketing, like you said, you got these influencers who were pro bodybuilders. They weren't people who were 300 pounds overweight that were used to eating Reese's Pieces all the day. Because when they looked at Quest Bar, they didn't see themselves, their world. In this case, it wouldn't be literally themselves. It'd be their worldview. And so you start in marketing with people who already have your worldview, and they fall in love with you. And then, over time, you've been able to evangelize out